Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Outcomes Rocket. Excited to have you on the podcast. I've got an outstanding person with me. You've probably heard his voice before, and that's because he ran a podcast. He still runs a podcast called ChalkTalk Jim. We ran it on our show for quite some time. His name is James Jordan. He is the CEO of StraTactic. He's got over 30 years of life sciences, investment, operational, and academic expertise. Just an extraordinary individual, a great friend, and I'm excited to have him here on the podcast with us. So James, thanks for joining.
I'm excited to be here.
I always would tune into the ChalkTalk Jim podcast and just some of the conversations you have, the intellectual curiosity that you always brought to the table on the interviews was always fascinating. So I'm glad we're finally getting you on, man. This is like way overdue.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years.
Too long. Like a couple more, like 5, no?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, you just had a grandbaby. Congratulations.
I have 2 now. Yes, with 4 daughters, we finally get the grandson. Don't know what to do with the grandson. I've had the golf clubs and the baseball bats and lacrosse sticks in the garage for 20 years. So now I get to use them.
Congratulations. That's so great. And so, all right, let's get into it, man. Like, I know it's been a while for folks, so let's give them an opportunity to get to know James Jordan. So what got you into healthcare, brother?
I stumbled into healthcare actually right after college. I was cooperative education and I started in the defense industry and I had an opportunity to get into healthcare. And I realized I loved the innovation and the technology, but instead of killing people, helping people live and last longer would be just a great thing. And as time has gone on, so what's changed in the past 5 years is really, I found my motivation has been about really dignity for people. That when we have healthcare is usually what leads us into poverty. Healthcare is becoming the highest cost for employers, which means they might have to choose employing less people. And so these decisions not only impact healthcare in general, but actually our gross domestic product and how we disperse wealth in this country. And it goes right back into the family, right? It goes right back into labor and how mom and dad are bringing home money. And if they're not stressed, the family has one lifestyle. If they're stressed, there's a tension in the house that doesn't exist elsewhere. So it's really become something for me that has a society aspect down to the individual person in addition to our economy.
Yeah, it's a very true story there. Something like 19% of GDP. It's an enormous part of our economy. That's why whenever anybody tells me healthcare is a niche, I think it's funny.
It's that, and I had a real world experience when I'm at the Pittsburgh Life Sciences Greenhouse, which was my job before this, and it was a nonprofit and for-profit venture capital firm on the south side of Pittsburgh, which is where the mills used to be. And so there's up and coming people, and there's still some of the mill people there. And so we got some wrong mail, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and I walked down the street to drop it off, and a woman comes with oxygen and a walker to the door, and she invites me in for tea. So me being me, I come in, have a cup of tea. We start talking, and she shares a story about her son who had gone off to Ohio State to be an engineer, but now he's home now, taking care of mom because her insurance is out. He's working at McDonald's down the street, and he's given up his future to take care of his mother. Now, that's not saying that working at McDonald's or anything like that is a bad thing. It's just saying healthcare, to be illustrative of our earlier conversation, healthcare is changing his economics, which is also changing his ability to contribute to our economy. He clearly, with the school he was going to and the degree he was going after, had the opportunity to do more.
Yeah, no, there's a big opportunity and lots of challenges. And that's why healthcare is fun, right? It's challenging and it's fun because with some good unlocks, we have some big opportunities. So talk to me about what you're up to at StraTactic, Jim.
I've stepped back and I've simplified my business and called it Edge Finder. So basically, the whole idea is that we think about the old cycle of continuous improvement in companies. Sometimes they're continuously improving the wrong thing. They're on the wrong curves, right? They're on obsolete products. And so it really comes down to getting people, the strategy, the people, and operations aligned. And so the goal here is we should constantly be seeking to use variance to find the next issue in our business, to advance whatever that would be, and then fortify it. And you think about rock climbing. That first person goes up and they tap in the rope to bring up the rest of them. Organizations really are about getting that person out front to find the future And then the rest come up and meet the future, and we continue that cycle again. So I do that with both big companies and I do it with startup companies. And they're slightly different. Startup companies are really about proving their business model that they're investable, right? And so their balance at the time is demonstrating customer value and acquirer value to investors so that they can say, okay, I can see this revenue, I can see there's an exit. But once you get to scale or cash flow positive, it's now I've got many moving parts. And that's where I come back into, hey, do I have unity in action in my people? Do I have innovation going through my organization? And the simplest analogy is a military general with a great strategy who doesn't have trained people or the infrastructure to feed the people when they get where they need to go. It doesn't do well. And the other piece, when you really study, I think emergency rooms do this well, FEMA does this well, and military does it well, is you get trained on these skills, but the minute you meet real life, the strategy goes out and you have to adapt. And so I think what I'm finding is we're training a lot of our people on human conceptual and technical skills, but we're actually not teaching them what's our strategy and how to be adaptable.
Yeah, well said, James. As you are doing your work for clients and digging into some of the challenges, some of the opportunities, what do you do in your model that's different or better than what other people are getting from a service like yours out there?
So I think a lot of people come in and they focus on efficiency and what I would call the balance sheet items, right? And I think that good financials are a consequence of good behaviors. And so teaching people how to understand their business model. So for example, if you go into a physician office for a minute and you figure out how many patients you're supposed to see in a day and it doesn't happen, I like to say, well, let's step back and look at the topics of why things happen and label them: planning, flow, variability or deviation issues. And at the end of the day, variability is natural in our process. But if we can understand these different rates, we can start understanding that sometimes things look good and they're not bad. So for another example, in a manufacturing facility, you've got two groups that are measuring parts per hour, and group A delivers more than it's supposed to deliver to group B, and B outputs double the output last week. And you ask them, hey, what is this? Is a planning, flow, deviation, variability issue, right? And they're celebrating. They think this is success. But the fact of the matter is, I want them to understand why they get that early and what that meant and the consequences of that. And it's the same thing with patients and people. They all move to the tact time of the market. So we have that's what I call frictionless operations. And then the rest of it is about strategy being in the right place at the right time, new markets, new categories, collapsing. When you step back in marketing, it's really about enter new markets, create new categories, split existing categories, and collapse the value chain. Now there's competing on cost, but that's not my business. And that basically those things help people do things a little differently.
I love that, James. You've done a lot of interesting things in your career. Can you point to one that maybe you felt was like the riskiest thing that you ever did?
I would say the riskiest thing I ever did was become an engineering manager when I'm not trained as an engineer. So there was a point in time, when I was with a company that underwent a consent decree. And for those in the audience, I'll let you guess which one it was. And basically they looked around and they said, hey, we need smart people to do stuff no one knew would come to the company. And I thought to myself, well, if I fail, I'm just going to get fired. But if I succeed, who the heck with a degree in accounting and a master's in operations in marketing would get a shot at doing this? And so
right. I didn't know that. So your undergrad is in accounting.
Yes.
And then your master's is in marketing.
An MBA with a focus on marketing and operations. Yeah.
Dude, that's cool. That's such a cool mix, man.
Those are also the decisions of youth too, right? Before kids, if you get fired, you figure it out. You get more conservative, you get older. But I would also say probably my next big move was...
Wait. Before you go there, I want to finish with the engineer thing. So how did that pan out?
I ended up being head of engineering for the whole organization. So I ended up getting tooling and packaging and manufacturing engineering, industrial engineering, facility engineering.
Holy smokes.
And what it came down to is understanding when you step back, if you're designing a system, if you get your specs right and you translate it right, you get the right return on investment. But if you look at that journey, two things go wrong. Bad benchmarks, meaning that I'm starting my journey and I'm targeting the wrong things to please my customer. And then the second piece is bad conformance. So the engineering groups have both sides of that equation. And so you can get to see how those come together to make or break products.
That's cool, man. Love it. Yeah, that's definitely risky.
Yes.
So but you pulled it off.
Well, I think I always credit the accounting with a systems mindset. You're always thinking about systems and how things come together.
Yeah.
And I guess I've always also had a little bit of product management genetics in me because I always want to know why everything works and how it works. Because at the end of the day, it's like the 80-20 rule. If I push this button, all this happens.
Did you like puzzles as a kid?
No, not at all, actually.
You weren't a puzzle kid?
No, it's a later thing in life. It's system stuff for me. Yeah, it's very interesting.
No, that's fascinating, man. I love that. You were going to go somewhere else with that.
I was going to say the second riskiest move was leaving industry and coming to Pittsburgh and working for a nonprofit and a for-profit venture capital firm. Totally different. So I've been on the operator end. I've been in every function. So for the audience, I went accounting, operations, engineering, quality, plant management, sales rep, marketing. So I covered all the functions and saw all the differences there. And I had done a couple startups, and I had done the big Fortune 100s with J&J, McKesson. But I came here and looked at the other end on investment. And boy, that's just a whole different world. And again, probably being naive to it helped me make that decision. But the result of it is I ended up at CMU and I've written 3 books, all because of that experience.
You also have this interesting knowledge platform. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So I have a platform called HealthcareData.Center, and its genesis is around 2007. I was able to, Carnegie Mellon University, Heinz College was interested in having me come in and do something with their master's degrees in healthcare. And yet at the same time, I was still full-time at the greenhouse. So we cut a deal where they built a team around me. But if you're running a master's program, your curriculum has to go through a faculty committee. And we had the most chief economists, architects, brilliant people, but they didn't have a common vision of healthcare. So I started putting it up online. And then next thing you know, the startup world is like, I don't have any of this information. I don't know how the US reimbursement system works or all that. And so I started offering it to them. And then CMU started asking me to teach a course in business models. So I just put it up there. And I think it's 15 years later, and a number I won't mention because my wife will kill me, but I have 2 full-time people in the Philippines working on it. They're nurse MBA types. And it's really been excellent because what it does is it helps me stay current on all the details in healthcare. And it's complemented by the podcast, which I don't know if people appreciate. You're the one that started me on the podcast. I can't remember how we met, but said, hey, we should put on this podcast. And what the podcast did for me was bring the qualitative aspects to it. And I'll give you a couple maybe points that are really interesting. Met a gentleman in the South from probably North Carolina all the way to Florida. He owns almost all the infusion centers down there. A very ethical Christian man. And pharmacy benefit units start shipping, they call it brown bagging. So instead of them getting their product that they need at the infusion center where they buy it from the infusion center, they sent it to their house and they bring it with them. I did not know that how he got paid was on the buy side, meaning the difference between what it was sold and the retail value at the infusion center was how he paid his nurses.
Got it.
And the system doesn't do that. And it had changed. And that's a real healthcare problem because some of these, particularly his rural places, he said, if I give up these product lines, my community doesn't get serviced. I'm the only one out in this rural place. But if I keep it going, I'm going to be out of business. And those are things that you can only get from doing what we do with these podcasts.
Yeah, no, that's so cool, man. And essentially, like, have you thought about adding an LLM to that knowledge base? Because I feel like that could be really interesting.
So I do use LLMs to query my data sets in the sense that you can almost, maybe for the audience, it might be best described as a Google LLM where you can put in topics. Yeah. But I am struggling now in my healthcare data center. And it's ironic that you say this because I actually had on my podcast yesterday a little AI genius in healthcare. And I was asking him how I upgrade my website because now people want to ask different kinds of questions and it runs across all my databases. And tools like Tableau and stuff like that just don't do it now. So I am at a little bit of a crossroads on some of that.
All right, man. If you're out there and you're good at tech, James might be the person you want to call because he's got a really interesting database that could be queried, be very useful. Maybe you should partner James with somebody like Dr. Eric Bricker, put your database together with his, I feel like that could be a very interesting LLM for people.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Cool, man. As you think about trends in tech and healthcare, obviously AI is all the buzz, but what sticks out besides AI as something that people need to be paying attention to?
So besides the obvious insurance issues that are going to hit us up in the next 12 months, I would say that probably the biggest thing that people or the industry's not paying attention to is the plethora of information on our Apple Watches, our withering scales, all these other places that can help us with prevention that are not tapped into the electronic health record. And I'm actually working with a few people that are focused on creating personal health records, meaning that it's not institution to you, it's you to institution. And it makes perfect sense. And it's something that would be very helpful. The problem is there's no business model to support it. So I think as we start figuring out how we bring this, I'll call that outside information to the inside, it's one of the best transformations that we can make. And COVID ironically helped us bring public health data sets and healthcare data sets closer together than they had ever been. I think now it's time to bring the individual person in their home together with their information. And it's funny, my wife has gone to see a new functional medicine doctor, and she is on a specific medication for Hashimoto's. She doesn't mind me saying that. And she came today. She's always uses her Apple Watch, so I don't wear mine as much. And she came to me today and she said, I noticed that my pulse is down by 10 points this week by switching to this different drug that the new doctor thought was too high and maybe was a little hard on her heart. That's really informative, right? Yeah. I think we all need more of that. And the question is balancing privacy and security with that wisdom.
Yeah, well said, man. I think wearables, nearables, they're going to keep growing. Their influence is going to keep growing, but all the questions around what you said, right? Privacy, security, data governance. These are things that we need to be thinking about as we take advantage of the platforms that are becoming more and more available. How about the Oura Ring? What do you think of that?
So my third daughter just got one.
She did?
And
I asked one for Christmas. I asked my
wife. Yeah. So if she were on here, and by the way, she's proudly going back to school to be a nurse practitioner for women's health. So I'm really proud of that. Her name's Julia.
Congrats, Julia.
Yeah. She's blown away by it. Sleep patterns, walking patterns, when she's in the hospital, walking around and doing different things. Nurses are notorious for not hydrating during the day, using the bathroom, eating, right? And she's now starting to see the impact of that on her.
The data is right there for all of us. I was actually about to buy an Oura, and then I did an interview at Health with the co-founder of Muse, and she convinced me to buy the head strap.
Yep.
I've been using that. Holy smokes, man. I had no idea that I was not getting the deep sleep that my body needed. And for me, it's just awareness, giving me the awareness.
Yes.
Sound like your doctor. She got the awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. We're all going to have a day where we're off or not. But for example, I'm in the process of writing a new book called Edge Finders.
Of course you
So for 3 weeks, I have been, for those who've written books, they know when you can't do it part-time, right? You just go really deep. So I've stopped yoga. I've stopped lifting weights. I'm drinking more coffee, and I'm literally sitting at a desk 14 hours a day.
You're crushing it.
I've been avoiding the scale and avoiding the blood pressure cuff. And I did it today. And I'm telling you, like in 3 weeks, you drift.
Yeah.
So that's where these tools come in, because it's real easy to get back on track after 2 or 3 weeks. It's not easy to get back on track when you look up and you've gained 40 pounds. That's just not good.
Well said. Well, I always enjoy chatting with you, James. Always a pleasure. I'm always learning something new. I want to give you a chance to plug your podcast and anything else that you want to share with the listeners that you feel would make a difference in them and their lives and their businesses, and where the best place they could get in touch with you.
So you can get in touch with me at jim@jfjordan.com. That's the easiest way to get me via email. My healthcare website is called HealthcareData.Center instead of .com. And my blog is at ChalkTalkJim.com.
That one was the podcast, folks. Hear that? Link that up to the podcast.
And if you're interested in one of my incubator courses, we do a course every year with the Bio International meeting. And that website can be found at bootcamp.bio instead of .com, BIO. And you can see the various tools that you would need there. So thank you.
Nothing but awesome resources from the amazing James Jordan. Thank you all for tuning in. In the show notes, you're going to find all the ways to get in touch with James and the different projects and things that he's offering. Thank you all for tuning in. And James, always a pleasure to chat with you, my friend.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you.